What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Kick-Ass Podcast. We are here tonight to take a look at a bit of some shocking-ish possible news on the horizon. Something that we've discussed in the past that was just purely a rumor, and I believe Conrad Thompson had spoke about with good old JR in his podcast that I think was maybe a month or two ago, not too long ago. But the possibility that Shane McMahon could be moving forward with AEW. There, of course, I'm sure you've seen it by now. If not, we'll be showing it here in a second. The photo that's floating around of the meeting between Shane McMahon and Tony Khan, apparently is someplace in Arlington. So we'll be taking a look at that. We'll be reading the article. We'll be showing that here in a moment. But as always, guys, thank you so much for checking out the show. Truly appreciate it. You can follow on Twitter at @KickashPodcast_. You can follow me personally at ASHMANNS. Of course, you can watch on YouTube, subscribe, like, comment, all that good, crazy, fun stuff. Whatever you feel so inclined to do. But with that being said, we are not going to waste much time. We are going to get right to it. When I saw the picture, at first I thought it was a joke. And taking it back, gosh, it had to be about maybe a month or so ago, maybe closer to 2 months now. Again, you guys know me, time is a crazy concept, but the fact that it was even just a rumor, when Conrad was speaking with JR on JR's podcast, I believe it's Grilling JR, that it would even be, or what JR essentially thought about the possibility of Shane McMahon joining AEW, and JR was essentially like, he put it by anyone really. Crazier things have happened in the wrestling world, and Shane could potentially bring a lot to AEW. Is kind of the route that JR was taking. And I'm pretty certain I was kind of under the same umbrella there. But fast forwarding now to the news that we have, not officially, obviously, right? It'd be a completely different show if it was confirmed, obviously. But with this, just the fact that there's photographic evidence that they've physically been in the same room and have met, is quite interesting. So with all that fun stuff out of the way, let's get it pulled up here. And again, the original sources for this, and obviously the picture that we'll be showing here in a moment, is from Wrestle Talk specifically, and then I believe Fightful Select, and Fightful.com. I think it's like a mutual breaking of the news type thing. So shout out to them. I obviously am reading straight from WrestleTalk.com, their website, so all credit goes to them. And this is actually one of the first times I've been to their website, so not too shabby. If you listen to me, I'm just not like a website person, especially because a lot of websites have ads and shit now. It's just, I don't have the patience. But if you're looking here on YouTube, the article starts off, or if not, rather, either way, the article starts off with AEW's Tony Khan has private meeting with Shane McMahon over, quote, possibilities moving forward. There's a picture of Shane and Tony Khan. Just interesting photo choices. Wrestle Talk and Fightful have learned that AEW CEO Tony Khan had a private meeting with Shane McMahon this week. We can report that the meeting took place in an office at a private Arlington airport on Monday, July 29, 2024. You can see a photo of McMahon and Khan together below, which we will see here in one moment if you're watching on YouTube. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful has confirmed with sources that the meeting did take place, with Khan and McMahon discussing, quote, possibilities moving forward, end quote. Sapp noted that Khan had been open, quote unquote, to talking with McMahon for a while, but it's believed they never met or even spoken before the rumors about McMahon possibly joining AEW emerged recently. Khan is said to have been very open to using Shane McMahon for several weeks now, and has also made it clear that he was open to the idea of talking to McMahon when people had brought the topic up to him backstage. Publicly, Tony Khan commented in a recent interview on the Maggie and Perloff show that McMahon was, quote, welcome to stop by anytime, and he seems like a really nice guy, end quote. Khan also told Sports Illustrated that he has, quote, a lot of respect for McMahon as an executive and a professional wrestler, end quote. And he's, quote, always welcome in AEW, end quote. The professional wrestler part gets me, and trust me, and again, if you've heard me before speaking about Shane, I am not a Shane hater. I'll just pause right here. One of my favorite matches in programs was Shane McMahon versus Kurt Angle and the match that they had at King of the Ring 2001. I think that was just the thread and the story throughout the whole pay-per-view that night. When you go back and think about it, the way that Shane helped Kurt Angle win the first match to advance him through the tournament, then he cost him the victory to be actually become the King of the Ring in the second match to get him obviously to the third match. So just probably just like little things like that. And obviously the match itself was very brutal. But I just remember just being super impressed with Shane at that point, and that was obviously 23 years ago now. Just freaking crazy. But it just cracks me up because like just and as a professional wrestler, because it's just if you know, you know, right? It's just one of those things. It's just funny. Shane McMahon has been absent from WWE since WrestleMania 39 in April 2023, where he tore his quad just seconds into a, I'll say this, quote, match against The Miz. Pfeiffer reported in June 2024 that he was under no kind of contract with WWE as of that story being released. He's still listed on the current roster on WWE's official website, but there are plenty of examples where that's been inaccurate in situations like this. We'll keep you posted with any further updates on discussions between Shane McMahon, Tony Khan, and AEW as they emerge. So here we go, guys. If you, again, are looking on YouTube, this is the photo in question. We have Shane McMahon right here leaning against the back of a office meeting chair, of course, the long table, few white styrofoam cups, the obligatory big green water bottle, and Tony Khan sitting on the other side in a chair. Some people, now just right off the bat, some people, and I've only listened to a few and seen a few different things because to be honest, I'm not even on social media that much anymore. But I've seen a couple people say that it was purposely staged. Tony Khan was pointing at the camera. This was planned, and just kind of like that narrative. First of all, could all that be true? Yeah, 100%. Do I think it was staged? Possibly. But is he pointing at the camera? No, he's not pointing at the camera, and Shane's not pointing at the camera. First of all, to me, it kind of does pass off as one of those pictures where Tony Khan was turning around mid sentence, mid word. He was rubbing his eyebrow, and whatever he was saying, he was mid turn, and he was like, and obviously, like I said, scratching his eyebrow, and kind of surprised that this person is walking in. Obviously, wasn't expecting him based on the expression in this interpretation. And then you have Shane O'Mac over there on the other side, again leaning on the back of the office chair, and the expression on his face doesn't look too thrilled. It's kind of like really, just like really, this is what we're doing. So again, if you haven't heard me before, I love a good conspiracy theory, right? I'm not the type to always go out there and question or think everything is a scam or whatever. But I'm a very big why person, just in general with everything. Gets on some people's nerves. But with this one, I could very easily see if the people who are saying, oh, it was planned and all this, that, and the third, if it wasn't planned, Tony Khan obviously knows who this individual is walking into an office meeting, and he could have very easily said, delete the picture, do not release this, do not let anyone know, or do not speak about what you just saw here that I was meeting with Shane. If it's top secret information, right? If obviously it's a random private office in Arlington Airport, so they don't want people to know. So clearly this wasn't something, and they didn't take a picture together and post it. So this wasn't something that they wanted broadcasted at this moment. I do see, though, obviously, if you know the person coming in, even if you don't, it's the same conversation. Delete the picture. Don't mention to anyone that you saw us speaking here, type thing. Like it, depending on the severity of it, and you don't want to make it a threat, right? Because it's not that serious. But you just, hey, keep your mouth shut, type thing. Why this person was walking in ready to take a picture is another thing too that's kind of sus, right? It's like, yes, it's very easy to pull up your camera nowadays and to take a quick picture and kind of be discreet about it. And yes, with the angling of this picture, it is kind of like, okay, like it's not a clear, like it's not a clear spot on picture, but they do get the majority of both. Obviously, you get the whole frame of Tony Khan and the majority of Shane in the frame. Um, but to me, it is kind of strange, like why the camera, the phone, why the camera was even pulled up and the photo was taken. And if that's not the case, or if the person came in and was possibly in there for maybe a minute or two, and they still like just enough time to just like act like they're just casually looking at the phone and still kind of sneak a picture. At this point, both Tony and Shane know who this individual is who took the picture and now either released it or it quote got hacked or got leaked from their phone or whatever the situation may be, right? So I don't know. There's a lot of different things with this one. It's just very interesting time wise. But with that being said, do I think it's a bad thing or possibly a negative that Shane is even in talks with Tony Khan and in talks with AEW as a whole? No. I'm a little conflicted on it though. I think that while you want to keep what brought AEW to the table and that mindset and that motto at its core, you do want to pick the brain off of as and pick the brains of as many and utilize every resource that you can, right? Is it concerning that it's a McMahon? A little bit to me, but like I mentioned before, like if you're gonna get a McMahon, Shane's gonna be your pretty much your only option at this point. I don't see a day where Vince would ever even speak with Tony Khan. Um and but Shane, Shane is that guy. Like I mentioned before, Shane is the guy to go off and do his own thing, to do his own build his own company, to pretty much bet on himself and to not really be defined by, oh, I'm a McMahon, I have to follow my dad's footsteps, I can only do what he says, or I can only do this, I can only fit in this type of mold. Now that you fucking know the guy, I probably disagree with him more than I agree, right? On certain things or everything. Um, but I've always had like a certain level of respect for Shane. Just from what I've read, what I've heard some people say of him, and just what we've seen on TV, right? You can only form an opinion of based on so much information that you have, right? If you haven't met the individual. Uh, do I think that he should be like an on-screen wrestler or anything like that? No, but like I mentioned in the previous, whenever that was, in the previous video, I think it would be fucking hilarious to see Shane McMahon versus Darby Allin. I think that would be his perfect, like the best first opponent for Shane. I think it'd be just fucking hilarious. And as much as I sound like I would sound like a hypocrite, I would be here to see that match just for the sheer ridiculousness of it. Um and I feel like that alone would sell so many tickets, right? And so many pay-per-view buys. So yeah, like as much as that makes me a hypocrite, like I will admit to that. But I think the idea, in all seriousness, of possibly bringing McMahon in, Shane McMahon, is the branding, and not necessarily, not even necessarily, not especially right now. This is probably the last time that you ever want to use the McMahon name for any type of branding, but in the sense of behind the scenes, in the sense of Shane obviously has connections. Shane knows what it takes to run a billion, and at this point, a multi-billion-dollar company. He can get you in the door in a lot of different places and a lot of different people, and especially with the fact that Tony Khan is still in the middle of a media rights negotiation, right? And working on getting that TV deal secured. So having a McMahon in your corner can only help you in a lot of the business aspects of it. I don't even think if Shane were to be brought on board, and again, in all seriousness, I don't think that it would ever be a situation where he would be on TV wrestling. I think he would make some type of appearance on TV because how can you not, right? How can you, if you have a McMahon, how can you not, at least for one appearance, show him on TV, have him say one thing and be done with it? Kind of like, of course, what I'm sure is going around the WCW type thing, but not in that route in the invasion route or anything. Just say he's just there just to help AEW and to, I don't know. I don't even know if you'd want to do that because you don't want the perception that AEW needs help and that he's the savior or anything like that, because it has a negative connotation. Just so that's why I wouldn't even want to put him in front of the camera again, like I was saying earlier. Um, but I think on paper and behind the scenes again, and business negotiations, and especially global, right? If you want to make it a more worldwide and global brand, having a McMahon in your corner can only help you with that. It's still fucking crazy to see. This picture right here is still just fucking crazy. Again, I don't think I'm still torn. Yes, like again, for all the reasons I just said, how can they not know who released the picture at this point? How could they not be in trouble? Maybe they are, maybe that person is fired or whatever the situation is. Not that I'm hoping anyone gets fired again because it's nothing too serious. But again, like something like this just doesn't happen. This just doesn't normally happen. So it's very interesting. And again, it could have just been like they were in the airport, right? So it could have just been a random airport employee walking in and maybe cutting through some rooms and was like, oh shit. Or maybe they walked by and overheard, or maybe a back door was open, or maybe they just knew that they were in the room and that's why their camera was ready. And they were like, I'm just going to sneak in, act like, oops, it was a mistake, try to snap a quick picture and then release it to the wrestling media. So there's a bunch of different possibilities. And until we get any more information on how it was released and what comes next, I think that's we could just speculate at this point, but it's still very interesting to see. And again, the timing of it with the rights negotiations, the TV rights and everything like that, I think is very intriguing and very interesting as well. But if you have not seen this article or read this article or the picture from below or anything like that, again, check out WrestleTalk.com. Fightful has it as well. It looks like they partnered on this breaking news. So shout out to them and kudos to them for all their diligent and hard work. But that is all that we have here. I just had to get on here and just ramble about that for a little bit. Dynamite is later tonight. It's actually kind of on now. Kind of ran into it. So hopefully I'll be getting back here soon. I want to do a prediction show for SummerSlam and hopefully get that cranked out here within the next day or so. So be on the lookout for that. But until next time, guys, thank you so much for checking out the show. I really appreciate you and all the feedback and all the interaction, as always. And again, you can follow me on Twitter at @KickAshPodcast_ for the show. You can follow me personally at ASHMANNS. You can check it out on YouTube at @KickAshPodcast_. But yeah, until next time, guys, stay safe and enjoy some wrestling.